Welcome to Community Talk Radio. This is Project Independence and You, Talk of the Town on LIU Public Radio. I'm Kristina Lew, your producer, your host. I'm here with Paula Uhl and Otto Lohse. And this is quite the exciting segment because normally we just ramble about what's going on in town, but we have another fabulous guest. Jeannie Moon is joining us, who is an author and a Long Island resident and a friend of the station manager, Dan Cox, who is our very own Wizard of Oz behind,
And the
behind
main
the scenes
and
over
her
here.
main purpose of being here is telling us a lot about Dan.
Right. That's actually the main
Right.
point of the show.
Exactly.
You know, we'll touch upon the novels, but we really want to know the dirt on Dan. But
can't
thank you
wait.
so much, Jeannie, for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here and to be back because I haven't been in the station for few years at least.
No.
So,
And it's so new now, right?
I know,
It's very
it's
exciting to be
beautiful.
back.
Yes.
But Jeannie, so we love interviewing people, especially
Mhm.
interesting people on Long Island and just getting your backstory. So give us a little brief overview about you and how you got involved in, writing.
I think I always had a book in me. I know a lot of people say that, and but I actually kind of got hit in the head one day and got an idea. But by profession, I'm a teacher. I taught for 37 years. I retired last June. I was a school English teacher, a high school English teacher, and a librarian. But I did start as a communications major here at WCWP.
Wow. Oh, wow.
So I think for me, the journalism piece, it was always about telling stories. I am a storyteller by nature. When I was teaching, I would tell stories. I would relay information by storytelling, because I do think that's a great
The
way for
best
people
way,
to
yeah.
understand. So like I said, I think I always had a book in me. I absolutely love romance. When I was in high school, I used to have a binder full of stories that I would carry around, and people would borrow them during
That's
lunch.
great.
And
That's so great.
they were all very angsty, highly charged,
Yes, as high school romance novels
romances
should be.
are.
Yes.
And I actually, to tell you about my librarian, was I had a cataloging system, so I know who had what at the
That's
time.
great.
But so I guess I was right before I turned 40, I actually started writing. And I finished my first book in 9 months. It was terrible. I will tell you that. But some very lovely people in the publishing industry, an agent, a couple of editors saw something in it and encouraged me to move on and encouraged me to find my local writing group. And I did. Long Island Romance Writers has been in existence since 1996. I joined. This was in the early 2000s. And I rewrote and wrote another book and rewrote and wrote another book and had some close calls. I finally got my first contract in 2012 with Penguin Random House.
Wow,
It took me
wonderful.
12 years, but I made a lot of good contacts. And I think really, if I were to give anybody advice, especially if you want to do traditional
Yeah.
publishing, is make sure you make good contacts, find a writing group, go to conferences if you can. And I learned a lot. The learning curve with writing is very steep. And it's not just about putting words on the page, it's about the business. Even if you decide you want to be an independent author, an indie author, there's still a lot to learn. So,
No, and I think that overall message, saying, listen, it took you 12 years to do. I think that in itself, we're in a society where you want instantaneous things, but I think, it just shows if you, put in the work and make those contacts that, anything really is possible.
And it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
And that's,
And you were working full time.
and I was
Yeah.
working
And a
full
hard
time.
job.
And I
Very
had
hard
3
job.
kids.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Unfortunately, my kids, when I finally got my first contract, my kids were all older. My last one had just gone to college and he was in college. So I had 3, but when I first started writing, they were in middle school, high school. I would write at night. It was definitely an interesting journey, but it was magical in so many ways. And if anybody is interested, you can say, I have an idea for a book, and that's great. A lot of people have ideas for a book. About 1% of those people actually write it,
Really?
and
Wow.
0.5% actually get it published.
When you
Wow.
say you have an idea for a book, all
Mhm.
right, give me a picture of what this is. Like you're looking at a blank piece of paper
Mhm.
and you have all of a sudden this brainstorm hits you about an idea.
And I feel like Otto's been there. So I think,
Yeah,
I
I
think
No, I
you
mean, I
should.
have. I mean, I was in the business world, and a lot of times you would have to write
Yeah, of
stuff.
course.
All right. And you look and you say, It's
What
not
now?
coming.
Right.
Yeah.
What now?
Well, I don't sit down to write a book without an idea first, you know,
Right.
and I do have ideas. And anytime I get one, and people say, well, where do you get your inspiration? I get it from life.
Yeah.
You know, everything is a story. And I always tell people in my life, if you don't want to be in the book, behave better. But it's true. It's everything is a story. Every person has a story. And, you know, there are times when you'll be sitting, you know, at the airport and you'll see somebody walk by and go, what's their story?
Right.
Or you'll see something happening in the news. I know
Mhm.
a lot of people who write young adult or who
Yeah.
write, you know, thrillers or who write, you know, crime. They pull their ideas from the actual headlines.
Yeah.
And it's an interesting process. For romance, you know, we're writing very tropey, you know, people say it's formulaic, but it's genre fiction.
Mhm.
So it does have expectations. People
Right.
know what they're going to get. They know they're going to get a
Yeah,
happy ever
yeah,
after,
Yeah.
and that's okay.
Yeah.
You know,
I love a good happy ever
right.
after.
Well, I mean,
well, that's
yeah.
it. But as far as the idea goes, you know, I'm what they call a plantser, which
Ooh.
means that I plan my book ahead, meaning that I have basic ideas of how it's going to go. I fully flesh out my characters. So I have a good idea what's going in. But as far as getting the ideas, they hit me. Like I'll see something, they hit me. I will see something on the news, it might hit me. I might have a brainstorm. I have had dreams where I'm going, I would wake up and I'd go, oh, that's interesting. And I just jot it down.
Yeah.
But I flesh out my characters. I have a plan moving forward. And then what I do is when I sit down, every 3 chapters, I plot ahead. So I don't really necessarily go in with a full big outline. Some authors do. They have 30 pages of notes and things like that before they get going. Other people just sit down right by the seat of their pants. So that's
Mhm.
where plantser comes in. You have a plotter and a pantser, and I
Mhm.
kind of fall in the
You know,
middle.
my biggest exposure to that type of novel, like a romance type thing, is Hallmark. right?
Well, Hallmark is, and in
Yeah.
fact,
Yeah.
my book Christmas in Angel Harbor, I brought a
I know.
copy.
And it's I
Um,
love I keep staring at it because I love the
It's
cover.
it
Yeah.
actually is a classic Hallmark style story. It's very sweet. There's no, you know, as we call sexy times on the page or anything
Mhm.
like that. And it was actually shopped. I did have a shopping agreement with a producer. They took it out and but unfortunately it was during COVID, so production had shut down. So it could still end up
Right. do it,
on
right,
there.
yeah,
You
yeah,
never
sure.
know.
Yeah,
But it is written, it honestly was written. It has a theme that is comparable to It's a Wonderful Life.
Oh.
And interestingly, it's probably one of my best-selling books. It's a favorite. And it's what they call a seasoned romance.
Mhm.
And both my characters are not 22. In
Right,
fact,
yeah.
both of these characters are 50.
Yeah, my
Yeah.
picture of like Hallmark, you know, I put
Yeah.
it on,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
I enjoy some of them.
Yeah, of course.
They have the way I see it is they have they're in some place, whether it be Italy or some mountain somewhere or wherever.
Right.
They set the scene
Mhm.
in an environment that's interesting,
Right.
and then there's always 2 people that stumble into each other in one way or another.
The meat cute.
Yeah.
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
It's
But
a
they don't
thing.
like each other in the beginning, maybe. All right.
No.
And
Well, that's how you build
I think Otto might
conflict.
be reading a lot
Yeah.
of these.
Yeah.
Well, you know what it is
Yeah.
that there is.
but then maybe something you start to see that look and you say,
Right.
oh, this is
Oh,
going
here it
somewhere, right?
goes. Well, you
Yeah.
know how it's going to turn out when
Yeah.
they bump into each other or
Yeah,
they
but
don't
then
like
there's
each other.
always the breakup. They have a little breakup. So
The
that-
dark moment.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
dark
I
moment.
I love all the
Right.
buzzwords.
Right.
I'm gonna use them this weekend when I talk
And
about
then
it.
the dark moment, I tell my wife, I said, the dark moment is coming. I don't use
Yeah.
that phrase.
I know, but
now
that's
I'm
what
gonna
it
be
is.
like
But but now he can. You
I'm
just
gonna
he's
be
gonna
like a
impress his
professional
wife.
now.
The
It's
dark
like,
night of
the
the soul.
dark
Right, right.
moment is coming. All right. And then I said,
Mm.
but wait a minute, the Hallmark moment is coming
Mhm.
Of
soon.
course it is.
Yeah.
And it's true. But that's why people read romance.
It will
Yeah.
feel
Well, that's
good.
why
They want
Hallmark,
to
I-
feel good.
uh,
It's comforting. And that's why they watch. And that's why people sit around during the holidays
Yeah.
in their pajamas and watch Hallmark
Yeah.
movies for hours on end because
Mhm.
they feel good
Yeah.
after watching them. And that's what genre fiction is
Yeah.
about. There is a predictability. Um, romance gets a very bad rap.
Yeah.
It really
I
does.
mean, that's what your books are.
Mine are
totally.
romance
Yeah.
You
novels.
don't have
and
anybody like getting bumped off at the end.
no, absolutely. Oh God, no.
Yeah.
God, no. And I mean, some people say like Nicholas Sparks is romance, and he's not. He's not a romance author because let's face it, his books sometimes take very tragic turns.
A lot of them.
I
yeah,
pick them
no
up
doubt,
and
yeah.
I go, who is not getting out of this
Yeah.
alive?
Right.
Yeah.
And he's
true,
very,
yeah.
very successful. I'm not knocking it, but it's a very
It's a
different
different genre,
experience.
right?
Yep, it's a different experience,
Yeah.
different reader experience.
So did you always just want to do the romance genre? Like that was just, did you ever want to?
It was very comfortable to me.
Yeah.
Now I've done different subgenres in romance. I've done like the small town. I've done romantic suspense. I've done sports romance. I've done different things, but the romance comes easily. And I also do what's called blended, because my books also usually have heroines that are on a journey. So it's like a blended romance with a women's fiction, because my heroines always do go through some kind of growth. So
Yeah, that's
yeah.
You have
so
also, looking at your book list, categories like Compass Cove, Holly
Right.
Point.
Those are series.
They're a series.
Yeah,
right.
and they're small town romances set
So
in
the
a
same
town.
people kind of come in.
Yes,
play
different couples in each book.
Right.
But they are set, like Compass Cove actually is set on the North Shore of Long Island.
Right.
Compass
Yeah.
Cove, I threw Oyster Bay off the map.
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah.
That's what I did. I went, this is perfect. Is now a new town.
I
And
love
if you
that.
read it, you'll find
You
it.
find, yeah,
Christmas
that's
in Angel Harbor. Angel Harbor is based on Northport.
Oh,
And
okay,
people
yeah.
who read it, I know, I can't believe you did this. And
Yeah.
it's so vivid and it's so real and it connects people.
Yeah,
But for
absolutely.
people who don't know it now, they're like, I want to come visit.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
they
great.
do. They're like, wow, this is really cool. Is
Yeah,
it
she's
really
like, I'm
like
building
this?
tourism over
I
here.
was
Yeah.
like, I said, yeah, it is really like that. I said, yeah, it's too crowded. Yeah, the LIE is a pain in the neck.
Yeah,
I
but
was
there's
like, but
beautiful.
it's
pop-
really
yeah.
beautiful. I live where people go on vacation.
Yeah.
That's what I always
Yeah.
tell
That's
people.
nice.
Now
Yeah.
your market that you want people obviously to buy these books, you're doing them because you enjoy it, but you also would like them to buy
Yes,
the
absolutely.
book, is beyond Long Island.
Oh, of course.
So people have to relate to Oyster Bay or Northport or
I have to
wherever.
make it
Yeah.
make it relatable to them.
Right,
I do.
right. So,
But it also gives them a view of someplace they may have
They
never
made,
been.
yeah, absolutely.
So
do they know when they read the book that this is Long Island?
they do.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm very clear
Yeah.
about it. And
Yeah.
there were people who said, why are you going to set it on Long Island? I went, have you ever been here? And they went, no. I said, that's why.
Right.
I said,
Yeah.
think of Cape Cod, but closer to the city.
Right.
Oh,
I
that's
said,
that's a
you
real
know,
good,
yeah,
yeah, that's
Closer
a
to
good
New York
description.
City. I said,
Best of both worlds.
and
Yeah.
I've explained this like to readers when I've been at conventions. I said, from where I live, I was like, if I went an hour west, I said I could be at a Broadway show. If I went 5 minutes north, I'd be at a Bay Beach. 20 minutes south, I'd be on the ocean. I said, and if I went an hour east, I said I could either be in the Hamptons, I said, or I could be in a vineyard.
Yeah.
Or on a
That's
farm.
right. Or on a
you know.
farm.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, a lot of people really have no clue that
They have
Long
no
Island
clue.
looks like it looks when you get,
Right.
like when I drive over here, I go down Post Road,
Yeah.
Whitney Lane and the whole bit there. It's gorgeous.
It is beautiful. The
yeah.
horse country.
Mhm.
For my daughter was an equestrian, but you don't realize that Long Island has one of the biggest horse populations in the country.
Oh, I didn't know
Still,
that either.
yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Does
I
that
know,
count
so-
race horses?
They count them.
Yeah.
Yeah, all of
Yeah.
them.
You know, it always
Yeah.
somehow
All of
goes
them.
back to racehorsing with Otto. I think.
But it's true, it does. And in fact, I mean, not too far from here, there used to be a thoroughbred, training facility on Northern Boulevard. It's gone now, obviously, but I think it's McMansions, but it used to be there. I knew people that worked there.
Right.
So
That's just so, and what I love too, and preparing for your segment, I see you do a lot of workshops.
I do.
too, which I
do.
think is really great for our listeners and stuff.
Mhm.
So can you just
Yes.
give us a little overview of the different workshops you're interested in providing?
Sure.
Yeah.
And I can design workshops. Fortunately, having been a teacher for so long, if somebody comes to me with a subject, if it's in my wheelhouse, I can design a workshop for almost
Mhm.
anybody. But I've done workshops on, I did a very popular one at Huntington Public Library a few years ago, and it was during COVID and it was virtual. It was called, You've Written a Book, Now What?
Yeah.
Right.
And what I did was I went through all the different steps. We have 5 meetings and 2 hours each. And I brought people in to talk, like an agent, an indie author, an editor.
Oh, that's so cool.
And
That's
they
great.
talk to them. I'm developing a new workshop now called the Silver Pen.
Mhm.
And it's for retirees who are thinking about writing their first book. So that's a brand new workshop. I'm out there shopping it now. I do things on craft. I do so on setting, on character development. I do one on seasoned romance, which is the older romance heroes and heroines, because everybody doesn't fall in love when they're 25.
Yeah.
My son is 31 and I wouldn't want to date him.
Yeah.
Like,
That
not yet.
kid.
Not yet. He's a great guy, but not yet. Like he's not a prospect. So let's be serious about that. He's a great kid, but he still doesn't
He's still
have
growing,
that.
right?
But it's just I think everybody deserves a love story. So I do it on season
Yeah.
romance. I do a lot of different things.
Yeah, but
Well,
that's so
I
that's
got
really
a
great. I love that.
question at a different path here.
Okay.
Like we know a Hallmark movie is going to be on for an hour with 20 minutes or whatever number of commercials. So they have to make this movie
Hour
and
and
edit it.
43
Yes.
minutes or
Oh,
something like that.
Okay, they have to edit it so it
Right.
comes out. When you start a book,
Yes.
do you think about the length of the book? Like, I don't want it to be a 350-page book.
It
I
depends.
want it to be a 150-page book. And do you think about the size of the font within the pages?
Oh, wow,
Well,
that's-
if I'm indie publishing, then I do think about the formatting and things like that. Like I got all my books back from Penguin. The books technically went out of print, so I was able to get my rights reverted. And then once that happened, I was able to republish them. I revised them, I brought them up to date, and I was able to put new covers on and everything, and I republished them. So yes, I did think about font size and stuff like that.
Well,
So-
after the break, Paula, Otto, and I were going to continue talking with Jeannie Moon, who's an author and Long Island resident. You're listening to Project Independence and You Talk of the Town on LIU Public Radio.
Take WCWP with you wherever you go with the WCWP app. Listen live 24/7 to all of our streams, all from one app. Plus, call the studios directly from the app and visit our social media. Download the app through the iOS App Store on Apple devices or the Google Play Store on Android by searching WCWP Radio, or visit WCWP.org for links. The WCWP app, available now on iOS and Android devices.
Welcome back to Community Talk Radio. This is Project Independence and You Talk of the Town on LIU Public Radio. But today we have a guest. We have Jeannie Moon with us, who's an author and Long Island resident, and we are talking all things about books, how to create a book. Otto's got a lot of questions. I think Otto is workshopping some ideas on Jeannie currently.
You know, I thought about writing books about, not by this topic, of course, but other topics.
Of course.
Mhm.
And then I thought about it and I said, man, that's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work. And you brought up a good point about length of the titles. When
Yeah.
I first wrote my books for Penguin, they said they wanted them about 70,000 words. And that was written into my contract. So a lot of times, if you're going traditional, you want to think about, the publisher will decide the length of the book. My Compass Cove books run anywhere between 80 and 95,000 words. My book Until You is 108. That one was much longer.
How does
So,
that equate to pages?
We have that.
well, Until You, I get over 300 pages, 350, I think.
Yes, it is.
360
Yeah,
pages.
that's
We're over
Yeah.
That's
350.
my
Yeah, it's like
max.
it's 360, 362.
Yeah, 360
350 is
pages.
my max.
But here's the thing, like when I self-pub, and Until You was a book I also got back the rights back, I had to look at page length. And I had to the pages, and I had to look at font size. That was the
Mhm.
question you had. Does it matter? It
Mhm.
does, because when I then want to do a print copy of that book, it affects the cost.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Right.
So that's also what publishers think about with regard to font size, if they're going to go digital only. There's some authors out there, they put out 50,000 word books, and they'll put out one every couple of months. And they do them quickly. They get them professionally designed, cover, they write very fast, and readers devour them.
Yeah.
They really do. I don't do that. I did write 19 books in 9 years.
Wow.
It was a lot.
Yeah.
and I was a little burned out. So I haven't written anything new in a couple of years. I'm working on it now. Now that I've retired, I have
Well,
more time.
Yeah.
one of your topics that I see you cover in workshops is time management.
Yep, I do.
Like in life in general and back in my business world, time management was always back here somewhere.
Yep.
You know, you have a list this long, you have the time to do this, and you only get that done
Right.
because it always takes longer to do this than you thought it would take.
Right.
And I'm an author coach now. You know, that's one of the things. I just finished my certificate with UCLA, and I've been working with writers on helping them be more accountable and figure out what they have to do. And I spoke to one person the other day and said, "You make a to-do list?" She goes, "Oh, I love to-do lists." I said, "Yeah, cut it in half.
Right.
Yeah.
Whatever you have on there, cut it in half." I
Yeah.
said, because you're never going to finish it all, and then you're just going to feel cruddy
Yeah.
when you don't.
Right.
So that's something I always taught my students too. When I was teaching, it's like, be mindful of your time. You always think you can do more than you can, or you can cram something into a shorter time period than you actually really can. It's not realistic. I did manage. I wrote a lot in the dark. It's very weird for me to write in daylight hours now.
Mm.
But I would get up very early,
Mhm.
or I would stay up too late. I had to be up at 5:30 to go to work. And after a while, it was just like, I need to stop, and I'm just going to finish my couple of years I have left. And then now I'm back to it, and it feels good.
Oh,
It's just different.
What do you find that, do you like the coaching better than you doing the actual writing?
I like coaching, and
Yeah.
I like teaching workshops. What my new business venture has been able to do for me is that I'm able to do both things that I really love, which
Yeah,
is
that's great.
teaching and writing.
Right.
So I can do both, and it's really rewarding. The writing is interesting. I'm one of those people, I love to revise. You give me an edited manuscript, I love revising it. Drafting is hard.
Mhm.
Some people, drafting is absolutely the best thing, and then editing is terrible. So it really depends on your personality.
You know, I do a thing I call sales coaching.
Yeah.
all right, with a client that I have, a customer. And it's interesting when you do stuff like you do and what I'm doing is things that are so obvious to me.
Mhm.
It's like I'm a rocket scientist when I talk to some
Right,
people
Yeah,
about
right.
it. It's like, this is so obvious, yet and I'm sure you have that.
I
like-
think what it is that that's my teaching superpower that comes
Yeah,
in.
that's
And
great.
I spent a long time basically seeing and figuring out what people's strengths were and kids' strengths were, and teaching to that. So I do go into it with a little bit of an advantage there. That's my personality type. But it is hard, and you see things, and for you it's obvious. But I think when you do coach, or you teach or you instruct, you have to try to meet people where they are. And that's where the reward
Very
is.
important.
Yep.
To tell me a bunch of stuff that's way up here.
Right.
When I need a kindergarten approach to
Right.
something, it's like, I'm not going to get it if you're up here.
Right.
Let's start down here. if
Right.
that's
And
where
you
I
never
am.
want people to feel like, oh, well, you're here and I'm here. It's saying, okay, well, this is our starting point. And what do we need to do to build you so that you feel good about what you're accomplishing, and and I can get you where you need to be.
Yeah, I think the point is, as a coach, I think you have to start at the level that person is. It's like a
Exactly.
little kid playing baseball.
Right.
Exactly.
You
You're not
don't
going
all of a
to
sudden
pitch them
tell
at
him
40 miles an hour.
how to throw a
Yeah.
slider
Yeah.
when he's hitting the ball off a tee.
Right.
You know,
I know.
uh,
Yeah. Same
but-
thing.
But all of your whole process of writing really is interesting to
Mhm.
me.
Sometimes it's a bag of cats. I'll be honest. Sometimes it is, and sometimes it's frustrating, and
Yeah.
it's hard and easy. Sometimes you get into a flow state where it just goes, and I'll look up from the computer and I've written 6,000 words. If I start, I'm still, and it's hard, I'm still somewhat nocturnal with my
Yeah.
writing, that if I sit down at 11 o'clock at night and I start going, I'll go to 5 o'clock in the
Yeah.
morning, look up, and 8,000 words will be on the page. And I don't know how they got
Yeah.
there.
See, I would have to take
yeah.
a nap in between.
Well, yeah,
Gotta
you
get
would
a power
think,
nap in,
but-
yeah.
And a lot of people do. There are people
Yeah.
who can't write at night.
Yeah.
And it was difficult for me because when I was working,
Yeah,
was-
my gosh.
Yeah.
Right.
I
choice.
couldn't do
Right,
that.
right,
So I
yeah.
would get up at 4:30 in the morning sometimes and
an
write for an hour.
hour.
Yeah. And then what I would do then is when I got home, I would edit what I had written in the morning. and then I'd have a place to start the next day.
When you start a book, do you know how it's going to end?
I always know how
Yeah.
it's going to end.
Okay. So you're working towards
Yeah.
the end.
Yes, I always know how a book is going to end. I always know that last scene, and sometimes I'll write it. I'll write
Have you
it
had
first.
to just throw away a book? Like,
Yeah.
you know, like,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that first book I wrote
Yeah,
was
that part, right.
horrific. Like that in its entirety, it will never see the light of day. The characters did make an appearance in another book, and they became the hero and heroine in another book. But the actual book itself, it was 125,000 words. It was so long and so convoluted. But that's part of the learning
Yeah,
process.
right.
You know, you learn by doing.
Yeah.
And then I was able to get into a writing group. I was able to learn my craft. It was a lot of fun.
You use the right words there, learned your craft. I think that's
Yeah.
important
Yeah.
in whatever you do.
Exactly.
It is. And I think for our listeners too, you know, like if there's something that you are passionate or want to
Mhm.
dabble in, you know, obviously our audience is largely retired or rewired, as Otto likes to say.
Okay.
We don't use the word retired here. You know, and I think it's important because you're saying like that's where you get so much experience.
Mhm.
And I think with anything that you're interested in, you know, to do it in these kind of group workshop settings is just, you know, really beneficial.
I think once you find a community of writers, even no matter how small, it could be 4 people, 3 people, just have somebody to bounce ideas off of. I think it's a great benefit because writing can be very solitary. And it can really be the kind of thing that it can drive you a little crazy sometimes. And you can feel like you're the only person going through the struggles. And there are struggles, you know, all of a sudden a book doesn't sell, or your publisher drops you, or your agent moves on, or your editor leaves publishing. And I've had all those things happen, not the dropping. We parted amicably at the end of a series. But the point I'm trying to make is there's a lot of ups and downs, and it's so subjective.
Yeah.
You know,
And
I'm involved and they know, they've heard me talk about this over the years, a thing I call hodgepodge. All right. And basically what it is periodically I get this whim where I'm going to put stuff for my family about anything. Like during COVID, I would
okay.
put into this
It's
hodgepodge.
kind of like a journaling.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, more or
situation.
less,
Yeah,
you know,
right.
about my childhood,
Mhm.
about baseball when I played or
Right.
whatever. And it's like a big hodgepodge, just as I put it. And I've often thought about maybe I ought to really organize this thing into some sort of a book.
I'm doing that now with my family history.
Are you?
Yep.
Okay.
People are giving me oral histories. I gave them all the questions and things to ask and little jumping off points. And so my cousins, I have on one side of the family, I have 41 first cousins.
Oh
My father
Wow.
was the youngest of 13.
Wow.
All of the brothers and sisters are gone, but I am doing that now with my cousins.
Wow.
Everything they remember.
See, I went through
Yeah.
about 20 years worth of ancestry and family tree.
Yeah.
And have that pretty well,
Mhm.
what I think is going to be as polished as it's going to get. And I have now passed it on to my daughters who want to have it.
Right.
And I'm basically not doing that anymore.
Mhm.
You know, I did my duty.
Yeah, this is a new project for us, and we're
this is
just getting
different.
it started.
Yeah.
And I have the time now, which is great, and I love that.
Now,
I
when-
always tell people, they say, "Oh, well, you're retiring from teaching." I go, "No, I'm not retiring
No,
from. I'm
going to work."
retiring to.
Right,
I
right.
never
Yeah.
retired from. You
Right.
retire to." So
Right. How did you like being an English teacher?
I
Is
loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
That's my
did.
daughter's
I
aspiration.
loved it. I absolutely loved it. There's so much nonsense sometimes, but when you see
Yeah.
a kid get it, it's
Right.
absolutely amazing.
Where did you teach?
Yeah.
I taught actually my English teaching days. I started out in Huntington. I then moved to Holy Trinity High School and then St. Dominic High School. It was the years of
Oh.
accessing.
Right.
And I
Oh,
would spend
yeah.
4 years
Yeah.
at St. Dom's in Oyster Bay, which is
Yeah.
why I know it so well.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was able to grab Compass Cove from there.
Yeah.
And then I was a librarian for 27 years in Smithtown.
Oh, really?
Wow.
Okay.
And I was elementary for 12 and high school for 15.
Wow. So you've
So,
really
yeah.
just been all
I got
over the-
around.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did.
That's right.
I
You
did.
really did. Look, and now you could be like with the senior population.
There you
know,
go.
There you
teaching
go.
them how to document their stories. If anyone is interested in, you know, a workshop you might be doing or more information
Mhm.
or getting your books, what's the best way to
They can
contact?
I have a website, and it's for my author coaching and my teaching, and it's called Your Author Mom.
Oh, I like that.
And it was actually very safe, Five Harbors Literary, and it sounded great, but really what people need is an author mom.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So that's really where I'm going with it. So it's yourauthormom.com.
Great.
Or if they want, they can reach out to me at Jeannie@JeannieMoon.com. And just,
That's great.
let me know. Let me know what you want. If you want to work individually, you want to work with a small group, or if you want to get something for a library, a community center, adult ed. So any of
Yeah, that's
that.
great. Well, we actually at Project Independence, so it's the town of North Hempstead, and
Mhm.
Project Independence is it's all seniors 60 and over, and we have all different kinds of
Mhm.
services, social work, nursing, but we have a lot of social things too, and we have this book club. So we're gonna have to pass along
Absolutely, I
Yeah.
do
your
book
books to
clubs, so I
the
would love it.
facilitator of that, because it's a really
And they
great
love to have authors. That's
Yeah.
a big deal.
Well, that's
Oh,
when the-
absolutely.
yes, right.
And I got connections too. So
Yeah, so
like
there you
other
go.
authors that we can
Yeah.
lead for with different genres. So it's not all romance.
Yeah, that's really awesome. I will certainly, because as
Yeah.
soon as I saw, I'm going to have to bring this back to the
Right,
book
yeah,
club.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Really great. So once again, if you want to get in contact with Jeannie Moon, you can reach her at yourauthormom.com to get some
Mhm.
information about her workshops, or at Jeannie, which is JEANNIE at jeanniemoon.com, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
good.
That's it.
Perfect. I got it. Otto, do you have any other burning questions for our fabulous author that we have here?
Well, no, but I was thinking, like, I recently through ancestry.com, they have a thing, Life Story,
Right.
where it's created basically by them,
Yes.
and you can take the time to polish that up, which I did not do.
Yeah.
But I sent it, I downloaded it and I sent it to lulu.com,
And they did the printing for
and
you.
they
Yeah.
did a good job of printing.
They
and
do
I-
a nice job.
Yeah, and I gave my daughter a book.
Yeah.
Aw,
that's
Otto,
nice.
That's really
see,
nice.
everyone just had an Otto
60
once
Right,
again.
right.
It was
Yeah.
like 60 or 70 pages of stuff, all the pictures and whatnot,
That's
and maybe
great.
not in perfect order, but far better than what a lot of
That's
There
people
you go.
get.
Otto,
Yeah.
just
know.
something always great
But
about
it's
you.
all, yeah, but it's all an automatic byproduct
Wow.
of using ancestry.com. There's one section
Okay.
which
There's a
you
little
can
golden nugget.
clean up. You can do a lot with it, the form they create, but it just takes too much time.
No, that's
See,
all right.
I'm
But you
busy.
made it
You're
work,
very
Otto.
busy,
You made it work.
Yeah.
But after the
Goes back to
break,
time management.
after the break, Paul, Otto, and I will continue talking about the town. And I want to thank Jeannie Moon so much for spending some time with
Yeah.
us.
Thank you.
And
It's
please check
great.
out her books. I know I certainly will. So thank you again, Jeannie.
And I'll be giving a panel this weekend at
Oh, great.
the Gold Coast Book Fair, which
Oh,
is going to be on
awesome.
campus
Sure,
here
yeah.
at Post.
Perfect.
And there's going to be lots of authors. Everything is free except the keynote. So make sure that you stop in at Post and then on Audrey Avenue on Sunday in Oyster Bay.
Perfect. Well,
Great.
we'll certainly, everyone
Yeah.
check that out. You're listening to Project Independence and You Talk of the Town on LIU Public Radio.
WCWP is your home for great music and great conversation. You'll find all that and more on WCWP.org. Listen live on the web, check out the lineup, subscribe to podcasts, and stay up to date on the latest station events. Get in touch with us and let us know if you like what you're hearing. And find out how you can support or get involved at the only community public radio station serving Nassau's North Shore. Plus, sign up to get a free bumper sticker. It's all online at WCWP.org.
Welcome back to Community Talk Radio. This is Project Independence and You Talk of the Town on LIU Public Radio. We just finished some really great interviews with Jeannie Moon, who is an author and a Long Island resident, and we're certainly all Otto. I think might be writing a new book. Otto, I think
we sit here,
I think you might need to get her as a coach, Otto, and you definitely have some good stories to tell. I would
may have to
definitely
polish up my hodgepodge.
look, Otto. It could be a book turned into a Hallmark
Well, I
movie.
wouldn't write a book to be sold to anybody. I
Mhm.
would write a book for family.
Yes. Oh,
know,
well, I'm going to
uh,
put my pre-order in now. So
I thought about writing a book about things like practical approaches to
Mhm.
sales and whatnot, because like mentioned by Jeannie, and you guys, you have a craft and you learn your craft.
Yeah,
And if you're good at it, it's because you worked at it.
right.
It didn't happen by osmosis.
Right.
You worked at it.
Practice.
Yeah.
Yep.
Whatever the craft may be.
Right.
you
Yeah.
know.
no,
And,
but I like that, especially, with Jeannie here, obviously she's, really explained the process of, how long it took her to write it and get into the mode of things. And I think, for people listening who are in retirement or rewirement, that it's a great time. And now she's able to kind of dive in even more, that she doesn't have a full-time job and really
Right.
kind of just
but we take
break into
books
that.
for granted a lot. If
Mhm.
you think about it, like you look at that,
I
you
love
have books
books.
in
Mhm.
front
Yeah.
of you there. you look at the book and you don't think at all about how long it took
Yeah.
somebody to
get there.
create
Yeah.
that book.
Yeah.
And now this is a book where you're creating it with your mind.
Yeah.
What about books where they have to do like thousands of hours worth of
Like
research?
facts and
Research.
I know,
You
I
know,
know.
to have facts in the
Yeah.
book.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, the time involved in most books is like very, very long.
And I would think most authors have to be working as they're writing books, just like what Jeannie was
Yeah,
saying.
right.
You can't just sit home
can't
and,
just
you know,
write.
Yeah, you got to have
you
money
have to have
coming
income,
in.
right?
you
No,
know.
but I think,
It's a lot.
and what's interesting, and Paul and I even just met with an organization
wonderful.
yesterday, about, because it's something that we're really seeing, and you see it even, in the media and stuff, and there's all kinds of books and things you can get, with the power of journaling and getting your story out there and writing poetry and kind of just having those outlets has so many benefits, especially to a senior population.
Mhm.
So it's just interesting to see that, like, I feel like it's being recognized more now. There's all these little groups, and I think it's awesome that Jeannie would be willing to go to different libraries to provide these workshops. So
Yeah.
I will certainly
Yeah.
promote that. If she has certain ones scheduled, I'd be more than happy during this segment to promote
Yeah.
that.
And we're looking to bring Kristina and I, just
Mhm.
as Kristina said, we met with two wonderful women yesterday from Port Washington, are also teachers, which is interesting. And they're teaching memoir writing classes and for seniors. And just they have poetry sections, they have memoir sections, and it was just so wonderful. And this is the time when we start talking about programming for the fall. So it was such wonderful.
Yeah, because I think
timing.
that, there's a big need and a lot of people, an interest certainly in this kind of creative outlet,
Right.
to our programming. So we're always looking to
Well,
have
my
something new.
hodgepodge is basically
Right.
a memoir.
Right.
And just like I said, hodgepodge order.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I tried now, I'm going back on it, trying to regroup it by childhood,
Yeah.
Yeah.
philosophy,
Yeah.
events.
Well, Otto, I'm telling you, I better be on that list to receive Otto's hodgepodge because it just sounds like it's jam-packed with such good information. I mean, I have my own little notebook of just random things Otto said throughout the show. So I really can't wait to dive into the hodgepodge.
Well, I find it a good outlet.
Yeah.
Like you reflect on your
But
life.
no, but see, but like, and that was our point, with having these
Writing,
programs. I
right.
think that it is good to reflect and then you get this, when we were talking with the teachers, you have like a concrete, book or something to
Right. At
either
the end of the
share or
program, They have a book to leave.
you're able to, and I think that that's so important, and that's what they always say, even when you're dealing with stress or anxiety, to like write things down and then just to kind of get it out of your head and onto it. So the whole active writing, I think, is so beneficial to so many people. And I'm excited to kind of get involved in programs like that. So
It's interesting, like when I'm looking for a topic, usually I'm looking for a written topic. I'm topping my golf shots. Sorry.
Mhm.
I'm really not looking for a video. I'm looking for a verbal
How to
explanation.
Right.
more and more,
Yeah.
I swear, Otto and I
Right.
might be the same person,
You know?
because that is the struggle of my life at all times.
Yeah.
Because everything comes to me, I'm like, give me just like play-by-play
Right.
instructions so I can just
Yeah,
like
Yeah,
really.
I find that verbal, maybe sometimes visual, but
Yeah, I like
find,
to have 'em both.
Yeah. And that's true of a lot of topics,
Yeah,
really.
it's really, I'm telling you, Otto, it's just the same page always. And also I want to let people know, if you missed the first hour of our show, we had on Maria Alvarez, who is the executive
Wonderful.
director of New York Statewide Senior Action Council. If you missed that, you can certainly check out our Project Independent website, the WCWP YouTube page. And of course, you could always watch Project Independence NU and this Talk of the Town segment as well on North Hempstead TV, channel 18 or 65 on Optimum, or channel 46 on Verizon Fios, and on North Shore TV. It's usually on around 2:00, but check myNHTV.com for up-to-date schedules.
That was an interesting segment as well.
I
Very
mean,
interesting.
great
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
I love doing this show because even being,
much you
with
learn,
Project
right.
Independence for so many years, and you think you've, heard it all, I always learn something new. And even if it's an organization that I'm familiar with, there's something new that comes out. I mean, those helplines
Yeah,
and
very
are
important.
so beneficial. The fact that, you could be in the hospital and call someone. I mean, think about all the
Yeah,
people we know
no,
that are alone in the
definitely,
hospital
yeah.
and don't know kind of how to navigate something. So and then the Medicare fraud piece. And, there's just such wonderful stuff. So I highly recommend everyone checks out that first hour as well, because a lot of
Yeah.
really good
And
information.
it
I mean,
really
we
it
didn't-
brings it down to just do X. And that's what I like. Just
Yeah,
call this
right.
number. Like what I was saying before, we get so much information, like all the time of resource information and what's good to get people, what do they need, what don't they need. But helpline is so important. And they have that same training as our HICOP counselors. And so, it's vetted, they know what they're doing, and you can have confidence when you call them.
There's so many resources
Yeah.
that are out there. And the biggest problem is getting
Connect them,
people to
right,
use them and
yeah.
be aware of them.
Yep.
But that's why I think,
Mm.
and a shout out to all of our, including you, Otto, like our Project Independence ambassadors, we like to call them,
Mm.
because I still believe that, it's great to have all these different modes of getting information out, but, to really talk to someone that has utilized a
Mhm.
service, and one-on-one, I think makes such a more personal impact, and someone is more likely, to this day, people who use Project Independence because, oh, my neighbor told me, about the program. So it's really, I think, so important to anyone who is involved in any of the aspects of our program to really spread that word,
Yeah.
Well,
and
word
to
of
get it out
mouth
there.
and almost everything in life.
Yeah. I mean, I know
you
for
know.
my own self, exactly.
Yeah.
If one of my friends says, listen, I have this doctor who I love,
Yeah, right.
so great, I'm more likely to use
Use
that,
that, yeah.
So I think that it's really important if you are, part of our
I mean,
team to do that.
the list is long about word of mouth.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything you do.
Yeah.
The car is broke. Where do I go? Oh,
Yeah.
I use this person who's really good and I trust them.
Mhm.
Trust is a big thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But such a great show. And we have a lot of really good ones coming up next week. We are going to have a repeated show, but on July 12th, we'll be back with a live show. It'll be Dr. Arturo Hernandez, who's an author and a professor of psychology at the University of Houston. He's going to discuss the 6 secrets to building brain power,
Oh,
which
good.
Otto, are you ready, Otto,
I
for this?
always
All
need
right,
help.
right.
Need all
Don't
help we
we all?
can.
Don't we all?
And then on July 19th, we're going to have on Jeannie Cacciatore, who is an LMSW, the program director at Family and Children's Association and Mental Health Awareness Training Program. She's going to give us a glimpse into mental health first aid. I just finished the course of that. I know I've been talking about my journey with it, and it was such an amazing course. I really recommend anyone, whether you are a professional listening or just your
Right.
average person,
Absolutely.
to take this course,
Hmm.
because it was so important to, mental health. I'm glad we were talking about this, is, starting to get more buzz, in the media, in personal conversations. And I think it's important to know how to react in certain things. Not everyone's a social worker or a psychologist, or trained in the field. And even if you are,
Right.
it's
Not
important
very
to
few.
know,
Thank
but
you.
I think that it's just to know, and Jeannie was such an incredible instructor who really gave personal tidbits and showed you videos and gave you concrete ways to
How to deal
handle
with
certain
things, yeah.
situations that you might come, into contact with in your own family or out in the wild. So she'll be on giving a glimpse into that, which I'm really excited for. And then August 2nd, we have on Carol Ostra, who's an author, theatrical producer, director, actress, dancer, and former high fashion model.
Wow.
She's going to be discussing poetry in motion and much emotion, a life well lived.
Wow.
So I'm really excited to have her on. And then we have August 16th, we have Greg Balbera, who's from Right at Home Nassau, discussing seniors and
Oh, yeah.
housekeeping.
Yeah.
And all that goes into that. Of course, we're going to touch upon hoarding, but also just being a senior in general and the housekeeping kind of burden that it might
Right.
be. So really great stuff coming up this summer. Please check out Project Independence and Project Independence website for anything. Absolutely. And next week we got from the repeat show will be Mary Jo Collins, who was our receiver of taxes. That was a really wonderful
Yeah.
interview too. We
Learned
learned a
something
lot
there, too.
about
Yeah.
ways to save money
She was
in
very
North
good.
Hempstead
Yeah.
and how to contact her.
Yeah, we've had some seniors follow up since
Yeah.
that
Oh,
show.
really?
They've reached out,
Absolutely.
yeah,
And then
yep.
we are going to have Kristina Freshour, who we had on last week, who is a registered dietitian, who me and Otto really drilled with such great nutrition stuff. I love having the show on Fridays because I'm all amped after the show, and I'm
Well, actually,
telling.
I actually bought some sardines after that
There you
and sourdough
missed
bread.
that
Okay,
show.
so that was my favorite part because, of course, as I said, Fridays, I see my family, I see my friends, and all I do is talk about this show and all the wonderful information I learned. And we had so many golden nuggets last week, and the sourdough bread was the hot topic in my family because she told us, Paula,
Yeah.
you did not hear this,
Right.
that fresh sourdough bread is actually one of the best breads to have.
I
She
love
said-
sourdough
She
I
bread.
said,
did
she
not
said,
know.
she said, bread gets a bad rap. And so
I
Otto
like
and
her
I were
even more
so
now.
excited. We both
Right.
in giant letters wrote
Right.
sourdough
Right.
bread.
And sardines
Yeah.
are good for you.
Right.
Yes, and we learned really
Not my
great
favorite,
stuff.
but
And
sourdough,
I
yes.
learned, which was a hot take, which I
Right.
felt so cool telling everyone, that bananas are actually not the highest form of potassium. that they
Oh,
get.
what is
Yeah.
the highest? What did
She
she
said
recommend?
potatoes actually have higher potassium. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. It
Well,
was,
you're not going to eat a potato for breakfast.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the.
But it
part of
was
a
just
bread.
Well, I
an-
It's
could if
compact. You
it
could.
were-
Right.
Home fries.
Right.
and she was saying about, raspberries have so much fiber. It was really, she gave so many
have to
great,
go
great
back and
nuggets.
listen.
Since
I didn't
then,
get
by the
to.
way, I have gotten frozen strawberries and small
I-
organic blueberries.
Did you get the wild
I
blueberries?
put them on a paper plate.
Okay.
Put them in the microwave
Okay.
for 25 seconds.
Okay.
Put them on top of the cereal,
Mhm.
and it's great.
See,
Really
Wow.
great.
Because Otto's
And-
been so
Wow.
upset
And it
about
actually
it.
That's
tastes
great.
like fruit.
Wow.
There we go. I was hoping, Otto, that you were going to come
Right,
to us
right.
because he was very upset about the lack of flavor in fruits.
Blueberries have been
And-
good lately, though.
And
Just-
she
I
said,
mean,
but
it's the
she actually
season.
said that the frozen
Are
is the
good.
way to go.
Wow.
The
Okay.
frozen organic wild blueberries is the way to
Wow,
go.
try it.
And it was.
And so I'm
good.
gonna have to tell Kristina that you took her advice in it. But really great segment. We asked so many
frozen
questions.
waffles, and you put that on top of the frozen waffles.
See, now
It's pretty
you
good
sound
too.
again like my mom, Otto. So you're
Sometimes I
very
put
similar.
the
Yeah.
fruit under the frozen waffles because that way the heat of the waffle
Heats.
helps
Look at you.
You know,
See?
bring the flavor
See?
out in the fruit under the
See?
waffle.
Never thought to put it under. Always put it on top, Otto. I always learn hot takes from
Well, I
Otto. This is why
change,
his
I change.
hodgepodge is
Depends on the
is a
mood
success.
of the day.
I love that. But it was really wonderful. She talked a lot about staying hydrated and, certainly beware of certain products that, appear to, be, electrolyte related and stuff,
Right,
because your
right.
average person doesn't really
Doesn't need them, right, yeah.
that kind of thing unless you
Only
are
if you're
certainly.
sweating a lot. Otherwise,
Yeah.
water is good.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. But yeah, we really ran the gamut of all kinds of different things in that interview. So thank you, Dan, for giving us that. So that was be next week. If you missed that, you could certainly tune in and hear all that great information. Also, which I cannot believe we are here, our Fun Day Monday program at the town of North Hempstead is kicking off July 8th. It's going to be from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. It's Stan and Edie, who I know are favorites over at the Fun Day Monday program, will be the entertainment. Once again, all Monday programs, if it's hot or if it's raining,
Mhm.
always call 311 just to double check. And it will be on the Thursday of that week. July 15th is a Vegas Strip tribute.
Yeah.
On July 26th is in a Hawaii Aloha. Of course, we have the fabulous Elvis impersonator mixed with the Hawaiian dancers will be there. And on July 29th is the Resource Fair, which is so great. And I actually was working with our friends over at Family and Children's Association to bring the Smart Van, which is our
Oh,
smart
wonderful.
technology
That's
van. It
great.
looks like it's gonna happen.
Oh, wonderful.
That it should be there. So once I have that finally confirmed,
That's
I will
great.
certainly announce that. Because it's really a great time to get, you have a
So
little
many
fun,
people
but
there,
there's a lot
yeah.
of great organizations there too. August 5th is a Copacabana theme. On August 12th is country music and dancing. And August 19th is my personal favorite, the Hometown USA
Yeah.
Salute to the Troops. There's a vintage car show and there's entertainment and really just wonderful stuff going on. And of course, it's honoring our troops. On top of all these things, there's weekly pickleball instruction from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. There's yoga from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. There's line dancing from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and Tai Chi from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. Please make sure to wear sneakers, comfortable clothes, and always stay hydrated, obviously, but really, really nice. And also there's a lot of transportation stops too. all out throughout the town. So please call 311 or 516-869-6311 to really get to do it. It's a nice time. It's a nice time at the beach. It's really a special time, and hopefully they have good weather, because I know unfortunately they've had to cancel a few
And
times.
it's so much work. Our staff.
Oh,
the
yes,
staff of community
absolutely.
Service works so
So
hard.
huge, but
I mean, I've been there
planning
when
it,
it was
doing it.
not closed down, but it was really hot.
yeah,
Yeah.
You know,
You have to
there's
be
a fine
careful.
line.
Yeah.
absolutely. And
Yeah.
and that's why I could vouch for it. They are monitoring the weather trends, very heavy, days of leading up to the morning of, and, obviously everybody wants to always have it, but safety first, always with that. In North Hempstead also, there's going to be yoga classes through various parks this summer. They're free outdoor beginners yoga sessions. They began on the 25th, which was Tuesday, and they're going to continue through Thursday, August 22nd. You do not need experience to attend. You don't need to register, which we love. And residents must bring their own yoga mats and water bottles. They're going to be at Manor Haven Beach Park. That's Tuesdays from 9 a.m. to 9:45. At Clark Botanic Garden is Wednesdays from 9 a.m. to 9:45. Fuschillo Park in Carl Place, Thursdays from 9 a.m. to 9:45. And Bunky Reed Park in Westbury, Thursdays from 10:30 to 11:15
Wonderful.
a.m.
They're all outdoors. You said?
Outdoor, at the
Excellent.
parks, which is really fun.
Really nice.
And it's nice because they're doing them nice and early. So hopefully, it's not as hot at those points. But I think the town always has really fun programming,
wonderful.
certainly throughout the summer. And of course, we have, which if I could find out of my numerous papers, July is National Park and Recreation Month. So North Hempstead, of course, has a lot of fun stuff going on there. And each week I'll let people know what's coming up. But July 1st and 2nd at the town dock are the do's and don'ts on the water. We're very fortunate to have a lot of great boating areas around here. So we'll learn about that. And then, of course, which we talk about every week, is the farmers market that is at Clinton G. Martin Park.
Which we can't go to.
But you know what? We have some days off this summer, Otto. So
next week. Well, it's the day after 4th of July.
I know I'm fortunate
Is
there,
it
but
open?
you're gonna. It should
so.
be, because where the
Okay,
town
so
is
it's close,
open. The town is open.
I'll
Is
be
it?
there.
Town is
Work.
open that day?
Yeah, the town is open that day.
I will be there.
But that is
Christina will
every
be off.
Friday from 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. And I've heard such wonderful things about it, because I come back and the first thing I ask people
Right.
when I get back from the radio show is, what did everybody get from the farmers market? And they've had seafood. There was baked goods. There's food trucks there.
They might have sourdough bread.
They might have the
They
sourdough
might.
bread. Speaking of the sourdough bread, it made me laugh, Otto, because I was picking up some groceries for my mom yesterday, and she was giving me her whole list. And she was also, can you please get me some sourdough bread? Because I can't stop thinking about it since you brought it up last week. So, we are single-handedly upping. We should get some kind of commission for the sourdough bread promotion we're giving on the show.
Keep looking though, because I think the one that I had was made in Canada.
Oh, so
wow.
you want that
So-
fresh?
Wow.
I think you got to go to a bakery. If I was you,
a
I would
bakery,
I would
yeah.
go to a bakery.
Yeah.
I feel.
I mean, this was in the bakery
Yeah.
department of the
Yes.
supermarket. All right. And
Gotcha.
it was wrapped. But it was in the bakery department, but I'm pretty sure it was made.
No,
in
that's right.
Canada,
Well, the hunt
which I
of
found to be
blueberries
pretty
and sourdough
interesting
bread.
that they
The
don't-
hunt continues, Otto.
Yeah.
Also, there's going to be a model airplane show, which is really nice. It's hosted by the Hempstead Harbor Aero Modeler Society. That's July 6th at the Aerodrome. And then Family Carnival at the Pools is July 7th at Manor Haven at 11 a.m. July 13th at 11 a.m. at Clinton G. Martin Park.
Where is
and
the
July-
aerodrome?
You know what? I was just looking. They don't have a specific address here, but now I'm going to have to find. I must.
The aerodrome is on Fort Washington Boulevard.
I was going to say it's right by the beach over there, right?
By the sand pit.
Yep. Thank you.
On the sand
So-
pit side?
It's on the north side of the sand pit.
There you go. So call up 311. I'm sure they can give you specific
I've
directions to
been
get there.
there.
Now you go. You learn something
Little
every
sign
day.
you
Yeah.
can barely see on
Yeah.
the side of the
Yeah.
road.
There you go.
My
Thank
s-
you again to Dan with our hot
My
news
son
here.
and I got in
giving
hot
us all the
water over
information.
there a long time ago.
That's for another show,
He
Otto.
had a dirt bike and he brought it over there. You're not allowed to use dirt bikes. I didn't know that. But
Okay. Well, you know what? Now he does. So
Right.
You're such a
that, that's this guy we have over, this troublemaker Otto. It's part of the hodgepodge booklet he has. I believe.
my
Yes.
record is clean though. They wiped it off.
But there's the for the family carnival at the pools, you have to have a pool pass or a daily pass to participate in that. There's family bingo night on July 18th, art in the park, kids craft. There's so many great stuff going on. I will constantly be promoting it. And I love that a lot of the summer events that North Hempstead does is really fun for the whole family, which
yeah.
is really, really nice. Wellness Wednesdays will be back, and that's our partnership at the town North Hempstead with North Shore University Hospital, Northwell Health, and Long Island Jewish Medical Center. Wellness Wednesdays, July 10th, Saving Lives training at Manor Haven Beach Park. I mean, just so many good things. If I could find my notes, we'll be really in business here. Thank you so much for listening to Project Independence and You, Talk of the Town, and to our guests today, Maria Alvarez and Jeannie Moon. I'd like to thank Paula and Otto for joining me to really spread the good word. This is Project Independence and You. It is a production of Long Island University Public Radio, and a special thank you to Dan Cox. Join us again next Friday for some really great previous shows, and we'll be back. We'll see you live on July 8th. Have a good one.